Several states are likely to ban or restrict abortions if the Supreme Court does decide ultimately to overturn Roe versus Wade. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill with more on the political implications that this opinion could have. Caitlin, good morning. Good to see you. So let's talk about this leak and what effect it might potentially have on the midterms. I've seen text messages from the DNC asking the party members to send money. I've seen the same from Republicans. So what are we looking at here?
Hey, Vlad. Yeah, we've seen a flurry of activity on both sides of the aisle politically on this issue. Democrats saying that this is an issue that is going to be on the ballot in this year's midterm elections. Republicans are saying that this is something that they've been working for, although they've been cautious about this and really focusing on the way in which this news came about. They're focusing on the leak. But for Democrats, they are hoping that this is going to be a galvanizing issue in this year's midterms, a midterm election in which they are facing extraordinary headwinds. I mean, we talk about this all the time, the economy, inflation, the history of the party in power facing a really difficult time. They're hoping that this galvanizes their voters. What we do know at this point is that we have CBS polling from last year that shows that Democrats are more likely than Republicans to show up and vote if Roe v. Wade is overturned by the courts. So this has big implications. We're up here on Capitol Hill, and we're going to be asking senators kind of how this will factor into some of their races. But I would point out, guys, that the real interesting races to watch are going to be these governor's races across the country, because Congress has very limited ways in which to go about this, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But for governors, if Roe versus Wade is in fact overturned, that means that this decision then goes to the states. And we've talked about before how we've seen governors across the country, Republicans and Democrats, working ahead of this expected ruling to either codify Roe v. Wade into state law or codify abortion restrictions into state law. So if Roe v. Wade is overturned by the courts, then it's up to the states to decide. And as you showed in that graph leading into this segment, nearly 24 states would likely have laws on the books banning abortion in the state. So keep an eye on those governor's races. Those are going to be really crucial.
You know, as I understand it, when it comes to sort of Democratic voters versus Republicans, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to abortion, Republicans are more likely to have that as the one issue that makes all the difference for them. If they are going to be one issue voters, that might be the one. I'm curious now, and Democrats not so much, but something like this, as you point out, could motivate Democrats. Could it motivate them not just to head to the polls, but also to push for the abolition of the filibuster?
Yeah, it's a really great point, Anne Marie. So a couple of things to consider here. Yes, Republicans have been very effective over the years around galvanizing around abortion and the Supreme Court. Remember in 2016, those two ideas really coalesced reluctant Republicans around Donald Trump, and that bet paid off. He got 3 Supreme Court justices nominated, and now there is a conservative court. Democrats haven't been able to really mobilize troops around that idea. The difference here could be that now this is no longer a hypothetical if this is overturned. It's no longer, this hypothetical of abortion could be on the line. If indeed the Supreme Court overturns it, that is a very real thing. So the thing to look at is whether that does have a motivating factor. Up here on Capitol Hill, let's talk about Democrats pushing to abolish the filibuster. We saw a lot of Democrats last night saying that this is the only recourse to be able to enshrine abortion rights into law. But let's do a little bit of a reality check here. There aren't the votes up here on Capitol Hill to abolish the filibuster. There's not support in the Democratic Party. You have Senators Manchin and Sinema against abolishing the filibuster. And also, earlier this year, in February, the Senate took up a measure to codify Roe v. Wade into federal law, and that failed. And Joe Manchin joined Republicans in voting to oppose that measure. So even if there was support for abolishing the filibuster, there's not a cohesive coalition of Democrats supportive of enshrining Roe v. Wade into law. So a lot of intra-party battles here, and that's something to keep an eye on today as lawmakers are assessing the political fallout of this and what they might be able to do next.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. We should point out, Caitlin, while you were on the air speaking with us, we did see a statement from the White House, the President of the United States. It's multi-paragraphs, but I'm going to focus on the last paragraph. He does say, if the court does overturn Roe, it will fall on our nation's elected officials at all levels of government to protect a woman's right to choose, and it will fall on voters to elect pro-choice officials this November. At the federal level, we will need more pro-choice senators and a pro-choice majority in the House to adopt legislation that codifies Roe, which I will work to pass and sign into law. So the president there, Caitlin, making the point that you were making about the effects that this will have on the electorate as they go to the polls in the midterm elections and, of course, in 2024. So that's an interesting statement there from the president, Anne-Marie, basically saying that, okay, if this does happen, because the Supreme Court is ultimately the final arbiter of law in this country, it's going to be up to the voters to ensure that if you don't want this to take place in your state, that you elect these pro-choice legislators, governors, senators.
At the state level.
At the state level.
Yeah. Caitlin, thank you very much.